All right, let's bring him in. Fun subject. We've been doing it the last 2 weeks. Continues to be an absolute killer with the fans on YouTube. Keagan Stiefel talking NFL draft. Because the Patriots are so bad, we got to do it. Keegs, welcome back, my man.
That's right. I love talking draft with you guys. I love doing it anyway, but having a team that stinks this bad to talk about it's a blessing.
So as I said, as we opened too, I'm texting Keegan. I go, you want to talk edge? I mean, they got 6 pressures and no sacks, or we talk cornerback because it's relevant. He's like, oh no, we're going to talk cornerbacks on this one. So here's one thing I want to set the table, guys. And this is the way I look at the Patriots cornerback room. Their biggest needs are tackle and wide receiver. Yep. Cornerback won't be resolved that early, but there could be guys out there. What I want to point out is Christian Gonzalez, 6'1". Marcus Jones, 5'8". Jonathan Jones, 5'9". And I think those last 2 heights are being generous. Shout out the Short Kings. I want you guys to point out just real quick, the top 6 cornerbacks in this draft. Travis Hunter, 6'1". Will Johnson of Michigan, 6'2". Yeah. Ben Morrison of Notre Dame, 6 foot. Yeah. Siobhan Ravel, 6'3". Yeah. Takario Davis, 6'4". Denzel Burke, 6'1". Patrick Surtain, the best corner in football, 6'2". Sauce Gardner, 6'3". Jalen Johnson, 6 foot. Kenyon Mitchell, 6 foot. Jalen Johnson, 5'11". There has to be a type by the Patriots. We're going to get into it. I just want to set the table of I am projecting onto you. If I hear anyone under 6 foot, he got to be a baller, but I don't want anybody that's under 6 foot. And I'm shitting on my Short Kings, but this is where I'm at now, man. I am done with the undersized corners that we've seen get eaten alive week after week by these receivers and constantly picked on. The Patriots need depth in their cornerback room coming into this game. It's never been more adamant and more obvious than after what we saw, what Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp did to them.
Yo, Keegs, he's preaching, but here's the truth, right? Like, I don't even like calling them short. I like to just say vertically challenged.
Thanks, I appreciate it. That's a recovery. Appreciate you guys. Keegs, who you want to bring up? I went on my soapbox there. Sorry to steal your thunder. Are you against what I'm saying? Hey, don't get caught up in height because of these guys, or what are you thinking?
Listen, I love what you're saying about the size thing because I do think there's a big difference between a number one, top level cornerback versus a guy who can contribute in your cornerback room,
which they have with the Joneses, right?
Right.
Let's say it. Let's say it. Size matters. I had to. Okay, let's go.
All right. No, but these top line like Q or CB1 guys, 6 foot, 6'1" and above. Yeah. So everybody I'm bringing to the table today, 6'1" or above.
My man.
It's time for the tall boys. So I'm going to start it off.
I like that.
Demani Jackson, cornerback out of Alabama, a guy I really like, not because of what I've seen on the field, but because of just who he is as a human being. If you know anything about this guy, legit track star. Probably could have been an Olympic sprinter if he wanted to. He's going to be close to setting the record at the combine for the 40. Legit speed. The best speed in the draft at the position. I think that's something the Patriots could use, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Jones, he's not as fast as he used to be. He used to be that guy in your room where you want to line him up on the Tyreek Hills of the world and erase that side of the field with some safety help. Can't do that anymore. So just based off that alone, love the size and I love the background. Started out at USC. He transferred into Alabama this year. So 2 premier programs, whether or not USC's lived up to it the last few years, that's debatable, but 2 top flight programs. And just everything that you see from this guy in terms of projectability to the next level, he's a cornerback 1, and you already have that, so he can be the guy on the other side of the field. Really help out your room a lot. And something that I wanted to get into, me and George talked about a little bit earlier, who do you have coaching these guys? And we've had that conversation with Drake May over and over and over again. But in the cornerback room, somebody who doesn't get enough credit for how good he's been at his job over the last decade, Mike Pellegrino, the Patriots cornerback coach. Yeah. It doesn't matter who they bring in. He's able to get something out of them and elevate the talent that he has in the room. We've seen it with Jonathan Jones. We've seen it with Marcus Jones. Christian Gonzalez, it took him no time at all to be that guy. Would he have been that elsewhere? Probably, right? That's the level of talent he is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they've implemented these cornerbacks into this system to where that's the best part of your defense right now. Is your secondary when they're healthy. So Mike Pellegrino, shout out from me. And when you're talking about bringing guys in to elevate this cornerback room, you can take a risk maybe in the mid-round, late rounds on a project because you have a guy there who's going to elevate them to the next level.
Yeah, Mike Pellegrino, he's been with the Patriots staff since 2015. He's a cornerbacks coach in 2019. We've seen guys like Jack Jones be great. Now, Jack Jones was projected to be a first, second-round pick, fell because of off the field stuff. But, hey, stepped in, great. Marcus Jones. working with like Alex Austin as a starting corner last season. At no point was I watching the cornerback play and going, oh my God, that's terrible. Like what he was working with. Then you get into the JC Jacksons, an undrafted free agent in 2018, broke out in 2020. Again, Pellegrino got his start in 2019. Jonathan Jones, undrafted free agent, 2016, 2020 is when he came into his own. I'm with you, Keagan, and that's where I do like this room. I think they need to add a free agency. I'll get into that.
Yep.
Right.
They're not going to address cornerback until day 2 or 3, but that's when you trust the coach you have in the building. And as much as I've said and I've given DeMarcus Covington a lot of criticism, Mike Pellegrino has been phenomenal at coaching a cornerback group. So I like you point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's a guy who's going to continue to do that. You got to worry about him, maybe finding a job elsewhere.
Yeah, that's someone I would pay.
You got to
secondary
right.
coach.
But organizations notice stuff like this to where he might be able to move into a different spot off of cornerbacks out in another organization, get some experience, and then that's when you get to elevate into those DC roles and those head coaching roles.
Bring him back.
It's all about opportunity for a guy like that.
Oh, yeah. So I like that you brought up your first guy, Demani Jackson with Alabama. Trav, who are you watching, man, in this draft? I know you got some names.
Well, let me first disagree with both of you because I know you're both thinking day 2, day 3 for these positions at corner. Let me say something, and I brought this up to you both before. We have to remember that this team has buku bucks to spend, A, and B, I do think this Drake May kid being able to play changes everything.
Yeah.
I think last offseason, players looked at New England like a wasteland. Like, I'm not going there. Are you kidding? They just ran off another quarterback. They fired the GOAT coach. Like, I'm not going there. Now, all of a sudden, you have Drake May who can play. You have all the money in the world. Look, I would not be shocked at all if they address the glaring weaknesses of this team by spending cash money, baby. I'm talking trenches. I'm talking an edge rusher and an offensive lineman where maybe you could sort of change the mentality to we'll take those things on day 2 and day 3.
Yeah.
How about T. Higgins the other night in a loss on Sunday night? 9 grabs, $148 and a touchdown. Does he look like a number 1 option?
Hey, I've been
How's
banging
hell
that
to
drum.
the
We'll see
sound?
if he gets tagged. We'll see what they have to give up.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's other ways to address
There
some
could
of
be.
these weaknesses. So I say all that to say I'm still living in they address those weaknesses with the money, then you could take a corner in that first round. And all of us feel as though they're going to end up in the top 10, where we'll see. But if you're top 10, I'm going right back to the well I told you at wide receiver. Travis Hunter. And just like I told you, for him to play wide receiver for the Patriots and he could play corner, you could do the reverse. You could draft him. You could have a conversation with the kid. You want to play corner? And then we'll just give you some packages at wide receiver. If he's good with that, Dion signs off of it because he's running the show, then give me Travis Hunter. That'll be my answer in this segment until the end of time, until he's a Patriot. Because guess what? Travis Hunter and Christian Gonzalez together would feed generations. Are you kidding me? I need it injected in my veins.
Keagan, you go.
Listen, I'll never, ever, for as long as we're doing this, be upset about the Patriots drafting Travis Hunter. Never, not once. If they take him with the number 1 pick, I'm going to be round of applause. Well done. You made the bold but smart decision in my eyes. So I'm all aboard the Travis Hunter train. I think we should talk about him every week. We'll talk edge rushers next week, possibly. I'll bring up Travis Hunter because he could probably do that too, right? This is a damn good football player. And that's what you should be targeting, just good football players.
Facts.
So I'm all in on the Travis Hunter train. Get him in the red, white, blue. I'm all about it.
Yep.
It's exactly if they go out, and you did say it, Trav, and that's where I agree with it. So let me not be a jerk for once.
Sure.
And go, well, they could franchise him. Let me not try to be the nerd in the room. Okay, let's say T. Higgins is a free agent. All right, you pay him. Is he a wide receiver 1 on 32 teams in the NFL? No, but he's a wide receiver 1 for you.
Hell yeah.
And guess what? When you have T. Higgins and you have a Demario Douglas and a Keyshawn Boutte is something, and you go and get a guy later in the draft, which we've done on this conversation, right? And you get in the red zone or you get on 3rd and short, money downs, you bring in Travis Hunter to run a route because his ball skills are insane. And like you say, on the other end, because this cornerback group is absolutely terrible, and your secondary has been bad outside of Christian Gonzalez. 6'1", needs to put on weight, But his IQ, his fluidity, how smooth he is with his hips, his ball hawking ability, just his ball skills in general, the way he leaps, the way he times it.
Yep.
And you have to talk about how damn well in shape the stamina of this kid is absolutely insane. Where he would never have to leave the field on defense. You would never have to sub him out. And him and Christian Gonzalez can play sideline to sideline. So that is something you go in there, you better have gotten your ish done in free agency, in my opinion, though.
You have to.
Because if you drop the ball in free agency
Yes.
and then you draft Travis Hunter, man, I'm going to have a lot of questions for
agree.
you. I like that Travis Hunter call. First name I'm going to bring up.
Before we move on,
Yeah, go.
I want to pose this question to you guys because I think it's an interesting one. George, I'll start with you. What do you see him as? Do you see him as a cornerback who can also play wide receiver or a wide receiver who can also play cornerback?
I see him as a wide receiver that can also play cornerback. And my thing is, I don't want him at his frame, which is slim, throwing his shoulder into grown men in the NFL, tackling and stopping the run on the edge. Now, you need him in a package. He comes in and locks down a guy. That's fine. I just project him as a wide receiver because I think that's where a team would get better long-term return. But I also am fit. And as I've said it, like Jacksonville's the number 1 overall pick. They go Travis Hunter. Awesome. You have an elite cornerback. And then you have Brian Thomas Jr., who's your wide receiver 1, and then a really, really good wide receiver 2. I don't want him playing corner, but if my biggest worry is, well, he needs to bulk up, awesome. You get him in a weight room in the NFL. And also, if you have the kid like running around less, literally on game day, not playing 1,000 snaps every Saturday or Sunday, playing less, like he will put on and retain weight and he could bulk up. And then if he's just 10 pounds, good weight. 10 pounds of good weight, and I could have a whole different tune about him playing corner, but I want him at receiver. That's just where I project him. I see Garrett Wilson. I just see Garrett Wilson, which to me is what you would want.
Keegs, I see him as prime. I actually think he's very similar to Deion Sanders. I think you put him on his side of the field. You got Christian Gonzalez on the other. I mean, you could have a modern day Legion of Boom here with the Patriots. With those two corners, you get decent safeties. I mean, my God, all of a sudden, who the hell's throwing on the Patriots besides no one? And I say prime because that's how prime could do. He could lock down a side of the field or travel with your best wide receiver. And if he got a pick, it was house call city. That's what Travis Hunter can do. And then you bring him in, packages a wide receiver like Deion used to do.
Yeah.
I would also entertain moving him to returns. I mean, I see, to answer your question, I think this is prime 2.0.
Yeah, and just to throw mine out there, I see him as a corner, and it's for two reasons. Number one, just refinement in terms of the ability to play a position. I think he's a better cornerback. He's just much more refined. I think it's what comes naturally to him. I think the receiver stuff, he still has a little bit of work on. Like, he's got the ball skills we talk about.
Yeah.
The route running's not that great, right? Like, there's a reason why he's going up over 4 guys to catch the ball. It's because he's not getting a ton of separation. There's a reason why he's their gadget guy, right? You're throwing him screens to get him the ball in space. So I think he's just better off as a cornerback. But like George said, in terms of the size, I think this is a guy who you'll see as he gets older. He's super young. He's still 20, right? As he gets older, he's going to be able to retain that weight, like George was talking about. He's going to get bigger. And I think it's going to be a lot easier for him when he gets a little bit bigger to just full-time cornerback. This is what I'm built to be. This is what I'm best at.
Yep.
And then you can find a role for him because it's so much harder to implement a part-time cornerback than it is a part-time wide receiver.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think 2 reasons. Just what he is as a player, he's a cornerback. And then what is easier for the team to do, that's easier. Just you're our number 2 cornerback if it's in New England. And we're going to put you in packages. We're going to find ways to help you succeed. So those are the 2 reasons. But I think it's an interesting conversation because I see both sides.
Yeah, and it's a kid, too, of, like you said, it's a lot harder to implement that corner because there's so much that goes on with defense. Wide receiver, hey, line up here, run this route. This is where you're ending up, and the ball's going to be there. And he's playing every snap for Colorado on both sides of the ball. It's not a sophisticated offense, but the fact that he could play every snap on both sides of the ball says a lot about his football IQ, his acumen, and just, dude, how detail-oriented and locked in the kid is. You can improve the route running, and that certainly can happen.
Just think about New England, right? You saw it this week. Marcus Jones played a little bit of running back. They needed him for a snap. They threw him out there. Easy, right? Throw him in the huddle, have Drake tell him, this is what you're doing on this play. It works. Not that way defensively, right?
Yep.
Julian Edelman practiced as a cornerback for like 8 weeks before they actually let him play. Troy Brown in 2004 was practicing there in training camp because they knew, if somebody gets hurt, we're going to need an extra guy. So it takes a long time for a wide receiver to be able to go over on the other side of the ball and play defense.
That's true.
So the name I'm going to throw out here, Dalen Everett, cornerback out of Georgia, 3-year starter since he was a freshman, 14 games, for a national championship Georgia team. Always one of the best defenses. 6'1",
Yeah.
190, 4.3 speed. Great frame. He's really good at press at the line of scrimmage. Again, starter since he was a freshman. Good tackler because you're not playing at Georgia unless you could do everything. Good feel in zone coverage. I think he has a lot to learn in man. And then here are the red flags I have for him. Stiff and pedal in transition, so he's just not the most fluid. And here's the big ones. Impatient in press, and he bites on double moves. But you know what? The last two especially, he's a good athlete. Like, I think the first one can improve. The last two, this comes back to full circle. Mike Pellegrino can coach it out of you. That's where you trust coaching. If those are my big concerns, but he checks every other box where I've seen him in coverage. He has the side. He has the speed. Obviously, he has the experience as a 3-year starter at Georgia. Georgia. As a freshman, played 14 games. I like everything about this kid. So that's where I go. There's one more. Davison Igbinison, 6'2", 195, 4.3 speed. He started at Ole Miss, now at Ohio State. So that told me he could learn two different systems, like your guy Keegs at USC first. Really fluid hips, great awareness. He's a physical press corner. But those guys, Everett and Igbinison, those guys are in the picks of early third to midway to the third. I could see them being gone, and I don't know if the Patriots will be taking a corner even that early.
Hey, Keegs, what's your boy Everett? I saw you sort of perked up when he brought him up at Georgia. What's he going to do to UMass this weekend? I see.
UMass has Georgia?
Too soon?
Yeah.
Too soon?
UMass has Georgia?
They're getting paid like $3 million to go get their asses beat down in Athens. Listen, we can, if we want to go off on a UMass tangent, I've got bars ready to go.
Bro, does Victor Cruz, can Victor Cruz, does he have any more eligibility this weekend?
UMass is out here 3 points away from their best win in 5 years. They end up losing because their kicker's an idiot and missed a chip shot field goal that would have won them the game.
God.
And then you go and fire the best head coach in program history because
it's UMass.
Maybe he's a little old. The athletic director should be ashamed of himself. He made one good hire a decade ago. We'll move on. My second cornerback. Let's talk corners. That's what we're here for. Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. And I think I came at you with the project guy in Demani Jackson. And now I'm going to come at you with the other side. This guy just knows how to play cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Not the biggest, not the fastest, not the strongest. 6 foot, about 170. He needs to put on a little bit of weight, kind of the same size as Travis Hunter. But if you watch Kentucky, the only reason why they haven't lost every single SEC game in the last 2 years is because they have a pretty good defense. And Maxwell Hairston is the guy on the back end. 4 interceptions over the last 2 years. He had a couple pick sixes in the same game earlier this year. Just the kind of ball hawk boundary corner that you look for. Is he going to be in their range? I think that's the question. Kind of a second, third round tweener guy. Maybe he'll last a little bit because of the size. And are you going to be picking at that spot for the Patriots? Maybe not. But he's a player I really like. I think you can plug him in any system in the NFL and he'll be a quality cornerback, right? He's going to be like like a Cooper DeJean type where it didn't take him long to find his way into Philadelphia's system. So I think Hairston is a guy. I just really like him as a player. I wanted to talk about him. Whether or not the Patriots are going to draft him, I don't know. A name to keep an eye on because if they do take care of business in free agency and they are looking for, let's beef up the back end of the defense in the third round, that might be a guy that they have their eyes on.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. It's, again, guys in the SEC, guys that we're pointing out. And these are just, this is something I need to address. The one thing I'm going to end this on really quick. Oh, yeah, by the way, Davison Igbinison, he's from Union, New Jersey, so you're getting a dog with him. Look, what I'm going to say, too, on this one, especially with the guys we have named, if they're developmental, this is something where the Patriots can use free agency and the big spending to their advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
They need a corner. Charvarius Ward is 28 years old, 6'1", likely to hit free agency going out of the 49ers. He's coming off a down year, but if he could be a stopgap veteran that you sign at that size while you have to bake these corners, but also they're going to play a lot of snaps, but they don't have to be that number 2 right away. That's what can help. And along with sticking with the 49ers here, Talanoa Hufanga, 25 years old, has only played 12 games the last 2 years because of injuries. They have absolutely ruined him. But if you could get him on a prove-it deal with a safety that could split coverage for you, play that center field position, and you only have $7 million tied up with Jabril Peppers next season. We'll see what happens with him down the line. You could get a Hufanga on a prove it deal. You could get a Ward on a vet deal.
Yep.
And you can address a big need at safety, a big need at corner too. And you can still draft a guy later on in the draft that could solve a lot of needs you have right now.
Yeah.
So it's free agency, then draft. That's what's big on this corner conversation, where I love the conversation of Travis Hunter early. I love the big guy, Will Johnson, out of Michigan. He's Pat Surtain 2.0 in my opinion.
Yep.
But if they go late in the round, again, this is where the Patriots have to hit so many spots.
I know.
They need to take care of free agency, and they can't whiff. And in a free agency class that looks like really weak for tackles, has the guys at receiver, like you point out, a T. Higgins, Trev, but then also good at corner and in secondary where they have their needs. I think that's where they end up going secondary, and we see draft with tackle and receiver. That I see the long-term shaking out.
I see the vision, dog.
We got to all have the vision at some point, so.
It's a really tough, this is just what the Patriots are, right? You can look at every position. That's why we're doing this, because we're going to go down the line, every position in the draft, and you're going to be like, yeah, they need that. They need an upgrade there other than quarterback. So
literally everywhere but quarterback.
You can go any, 40 different ways, because they could draft a corner on day 1, day 2, day 3. Same thing with wide receiver. Same thing with the offensive line. Same thing with edge. So we're going to be talking about guys throughout the rest of the season and then the offseason leading up to the draft that I think people will just in the front of their mind think, well, he's a second round pick. That's not what they're going to be targeting in the second round. But think of free agency. Think of what they'll be doing before the draft actually gets there and how things are going to unfold. Where we sit right now on November 20th, 2024 is not where we're going to be sitting in April when they're getting ready for the draft. So
that's what makes it fun.
The reason we're talking about guys from the 1st to the 7th round across all the positions is because we have no idea where they're going to be in April. That's what's fun about it. But like you said,
it's looking ahead. What are the free agents like? Because if we go, they'll just sign a tackle like Tyron Smith at 33 years old. That's not going to do it. The only positions I can say they're fine: quarterback,
right,
punter, kicker, and defensive tackle, but they still need depth behind Christian Barmore as well. He's Keagan Stiefel of Nesson.com. Keeks, always appreciate taking the time. Good luck to your Minutemen, man. I did not know Georgia had UMass. I'm
laying the 38.5, whatever it is. I'm
gonna do it too. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna tail you on